Alright, so the video today is inspired by a couple of conversations that I had over the last few days. So as you know, currently on the free-to-play account, we've been going through the first 10 weeks, and since it is a new account, I'm obviously also hopping through a couple of clans and new ones. We're starting to progress through the game. And I had a couple of interesting conversations with people that have been playing longer than I have, and it was a bit of a surprise to me that a lot of people look at their champions and they don't really know what they should equip in the first place. Now obviously there's always a few edge cases. We might touch upon some of those later when we're talking about certain speed tunes for, let's say, clan boss, for certain other areas in the PvE content. But generally speaking, you should at least have a bit of an idea of what to equip for your champion. So we're going for a small item guide. Some of these things will repeat stuff that I mentioned in the past, but I want to make it a bit more concise, so we're doing an extra video on that, since there seems to be a lot of confusion on what you should actually do with your champion, since I realize that a lot of the guys that are playing the game don't really get the best out of their champions, are a little bit confused as to what to equip, and that causes problems. So let's jump in and look at a couple of the champions here as good examples. Alright, so when we're talking about champions, the first thing that's obviously important is that you think a little bit about what the champion is actually used for. Main attributes are a big thing, and for most of the attack champions, as you can see up at the top right, that would be attack, as the damage is based on it. And generally speaking, what you can do to find that out is you just click on any skill that they have, and then you can read on the skill, blah blah blah, what the skill exactly does, and then also the damage is based on attack. So you already have your main attribute right there to get the damage out. Makes things easy for quite a lot of the champions. Traditionally speaking, that would, for example, mean that you can use a chest that has that percentage damage. You always want to go for percentage damage over flat, or for percentage numbers in general over flat stats when we're talking about the main attribute. So in this case, we have, for example, an attack chest, and for damage champions, you want to have crit damage on your gloves. Now, you might not always be able to get that, because the idea is, of course, that you have a 100% crit rate. So for a lot of the attack champions, initially you would go for crit rate gloves until you hit 100%, and then if at any point later you can swing 100% without relying on crit gloves, then you're going for crit damage, and that pretty much sets you up to have like a fantastic nuker. Currently, Michelangelo is my best nuker by far. If you're looking at his overall stats right now, again, for late game accounts, this is nothing amazing, but for me it's actually pretty good. I have him at 98% of a crit rate, I have 228% of crit damage, so for where I am with the account right now, that's fairly decent, and that comes with a bit over 5,000 attack, just generally speaking. Now, again, the main thing for him here is that we have our attack chest that corresponds with our main attribute, and then we have crit damage or crit rate for an attack champion. Now obviously one of the easiest questions now is what exactly is going to happen with the attack percentage gloves. Generally speaking, they're cells. Attack percentage doesn't really matter. The only outlier where they do matter is when you have a bomb champion, because bombs are dependent on your attack and not on your crit damage and crit rate. So if you're talking about bomb champions, then gloves that are based on attack percent are still valuable. Everything else, you shouldn't use them for your damage dealers. It's really all about getting the crit rate to 100% or as close to, and then getting crit damage on top of that. Now, I talked in one of the earliest videos on the channel about our boots, and what you want to have on boots is always speed. There's really nothing else. It's speed, 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 speed. If you have any champion that has currently no speed boots, get him on speed boost. And yes, I know there are a couple of exceptions. That's maybe the 0.1%. Depending on what exactly you have as a champion, if it doesn't really matter if a champion is fast or not, then there are a couple of outliers where, for example, boots that have HP percentage or defense percentage can be an interesting option. But believe me, if you have a new account, that is not for you. This is mostly endgame stuff. And in that case, you will fairly quickly find some of these. But speed is really what it's all about. You want to have 6-star speed boots. I still have lots of champions that only have 5-star speed boots because I don't have enough, so that's a big thing. And when we're talking about generally your items, as you can see, for example, with Michelangelo here, he has a lot of broken sets right now. You don't really need to have consistent sets with your champions at the beginning. At the beginning, it's really just much more important that you're hitting the right stats, that you're hitting the right main stats, And that's essentially it. Now, if you can get sets, then obviously we're talking about lifesteal sets. We're talking about speed sets. Maybe you already have, I don't know, depending on the champion, relentless sets, regeneration sets, savage sets, all fantastic, but you need to make sure that you're hitting those crucial numbers and that you hit those main stats. So if you can get the stats, fantastic, make sure that they're in line with what the champion is trying to do, and everything else, break the sets apart and wait until you get more items and that you get the sets together. Now, there's just a start into this, because one of the other aspects, maybe let's touch on one of the other champions first. So for example, when we're talking about Ugo, this is a little bit of a similar thing. So the first thing is we're checking again, what is the damage based on? But Ugo is, for example, an attack champion, right? But you have to still think about what is the champion actually going to do. It's a very similar case when we're talking about Gorm here. Gorm, for example, is also an attack champion. So our main stat is damage. But then you think a little bit about what is that champion actually going to do. So in the case of Gorm, what are we doing? We're getting a bit of a turn meter decrease on our A3, and we have a stun, which is helping us a lot to survive through waves in a dungeon, or we can even use him in arena. On top of that, we have increased speed, we have continuous heals, so we're getting buffs up there. Now, nowhere here do you really think, okay, this is one of my big nukers, this is a champion that's going to do tons of damage. So the first step is really looking at the main attribute. The second step, and this is where it becomes important, is you have to think a little bit about what is that champion actually going to do? What is the role here? So when I look at Gorm, is that really a damage dealer for me? Is Ugo a damage dealer? Ugo is a debuffer. That's just all that he is. I want to get my debuffs in, I have some heals, and I'm not looking to do damage with him. He's a support champion at the end of the day. Same also true for Gorm. You can see the top right, so we have a support champion here. With Ugo, it's basically the same pattern. So damage isn't really something that I'm interested in. What I'm interested in when I play with Ugo, with Gorm, is that they survive for as long as possible, because I want to make sure that they are the ones that can really later on, you know, bring me through the wave, support the damage champions as best as possible. So in this case, we're not going for that traditional pattern. I have, for example, Ugo here in HP percentage on my chest, and then I have the same also for my gauntlets. And when we're talking about someone like Gorm, it's essentially the same thing. So I have this HP percentage on both of them. I really want to have high hit points, I want to have a lot of defense, and that helps you with survivability. Outside of that, you also have to think a little bit about, okay, what are the differences here? For example, when I talk about Gorm, he doesn't really have a lot of debuffs. I have decent accuracy, that's for the stun, but I also want to have him fast. I really want him to circle through that attack speed, through the speed in general, and the stun that he has here, apply those buffs. So I want him as fast as possible, I want to have a little bit of accuracy, and I want to make sure that he can survive. So this is what you can see here with the items and the patterns that we're using. I have him basically in all speed sets. There's only one set where I could go for additional speed set. I don't have the appropriate main stats on those two items for him, so that's why I have him on a broken set there. But if I could switch that out, then I would also put him in a speed set here just to make him faster. Alternatives would be an accuracy set, a perception set. I don't have a lot of those yet, but later on perception sets are going to be pretty big. That gives me accuracy, that gives me speed, that helps to apply the stun. With Ugo, I can apply my debuffs, and it circles also very quickly then through the buffs that I can provide here. And this is actually one of the crucial things, because I noticed that a lot of people, they first of all struggle with the idea of, hey, what is the main stat for my character? Then I've seen a lot of people that don't realize that crit damage is really what you're centering most of your damage champions around. And then point number 3 is you really have to think about what role does the champion fill in my lineup. Because if it's not a damage champion, then normally what you really want is a lot of support, and you're getting this mainly by using speed, by using accuracy, and just playing through all of that. And we have a couple of edge cases as well. For example, when we're talking about Frozen Banshee here, the interesting part about her is that she is my main damage champion when we're talking about the clan boss. And as you obviously guessed, she's an attack champion, so her main attribute is also attack based. But you have to again then look at what is she actually going to do. How does she get her damage out? And the answer is simple. It's not her auto attack, it's her poison. For her, it's really all about first coming in with Frostblight the poison sensitivity, and then just applying the poison debuff. That's something that she's extremely strong at. So when you're looking at the items here, I have her currently in a defense chest plate that isn't even fully upgraded because I just swapped it in. And I have her on HP percent. And her job is mainly A, the clan boss, and B, when I get her to the dragon on level 24, stage 24, she needs to get those poisons in, and she needs to survive, because that's going to help her then to take the dragon down essentially solo. So in this case, you have to think, okay, I don't need the crit damage on her. Now, don't get me wrong, if you can get in a massive amount of HP and defense and everything else, and then in addition to that you somehow also end up with 100% crit damage, hey, fantastic. But for most people that's not going to be the case. So what you want to have there is survivability. You don't do your damage with the auto attack, you do the main of your damage with poison. The only reason why you want to have at least some auto attack damage is because you are using that lifesteal set in order to get the survivability, to survive on the dragon longer and to survive on the boss longer when you're playing clan boss. So that's basically the idea here. So that's just a little bit of an overview, but really when you're talking about champions, first of all, speed boots, always super crucial, always on the lower row of items, on your gloves, on your defense, on those two, make sure that you use percentage-based stats, and make sure that you think a little bit about what is the role of the champion? How does that champion support my team? Is it a straight up supporter? Do I need that champion to survive? Do I need that champion to be fast? Is that champion a debuffer? Then you need some accuracy. And if not, get that crit damage in, get that damage output there. That's essentially it. So just a couple of things to really think about when you're running your lineup. Look at the champions and think about what exactly do they do in that composition, and then build around them. For example, when I look at High Cartoon, High Cartoon's role in my lineups, the only role that she has is be fast. It's the only thing. She's only my arena lead. It's all that she does. So she's an exception where I have, in this case, my chest plate is a flat stat. It's flat defense. Normally, that would be absolute trash and I wouldn't use it. But since I have 3 roles in speed over here, this is the fastest chest that I have. So she gets that because her job is essentially done once she goes first and buffs everybody else and speeds them up. When we're looking at my gauntlets, it's the same thing. So I have a double roll into speed. Once that I get better items, I will definitely replace those, get better items on my chest, get better items also on my gloves, ideally again percentage stats, and then I can use her more reliably in other areas of the game. But for me, she is filling that niche where in all of my arena games, if it's live arena, classic arena, or even in team arena, she just needs to be fast. Everything else is then a bonus that comes later. So really think about what the role of the champion is and adjust accordingly. Now I hope this helped a little bit just to get a rough idea of what to do with champions if you're unsure. If you have any questions, anything that I didn't really touch upon, then please, as usual, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. I'm always happy to help out and let you guys know what's going on there. As a bit of an anecdote, I actually logged in for the first time in a long time again on my main account, and I was a little bit blown away how many champions I actually had that I didn't even know about. Went through the legendary list yesterday, and it's been a while, so it was kind of fun. Still don't have that Sifi though, unfortunately, so she's still a bit elusive. But yeah. Either way, with that little anecdote, that's it for the day. So thanks for watching the video. I see you guys in the next one, and as always, if you had any questions, drop them in the comment section.